The emergency transmission should have been impossible to misunderstand. Every inhabited world inside the Orion Accord followed the same rescue protocol. A colony in danger transmitted its identity, location, casualty estimates, environmental conditions, and the exact supplies required. Within minutes, relief ships were dispatched. The system had worked for nearly 2 centuries. Until the signal from Erebus 17. It arrived in pieces. The first fragment lasted only 19 seconds. Colony designation, Erebus 17. Population. Emergency level. Transmission. Silence. Lieutenant Kalen Voss, communications officer aboard listening station Helix, frowned at the frozen waveform. Corrupted relay, his assistant asked. Kalen didn't answer. He replayed it. Nothing. Just static swallowing the rest. 4 minutes later, the second fragment arrived. Inside the foundations. Don't touch. It's learning. The translator hesitated before displaying the final words. Translation confidence, 41%. Kalen felt a chill crawl across his scales. He had handled hundreds of emergency calls. None looked like this. He immediately flagged the transmission for priority analysis. The third fragment arrived 11 minutes later. It lasted only 5 seconds. There were no voices. No alarms. No explosions. Only sound. It wasn't mechanical. It wasn't biological. It was something else. A low chorus drifted through the speakers, rising and falling in impossible harmony. Every note felt almost correct. Almost. Like someone had studied music without ever hearing it. Kalen's feathers instinctively lifted. He shut the speakers off. The room became painfully quiet. "What was that?" whispered his assistant. "I don't know." For the first time in 7 years of service, Kalen was afraid of a sound. Standard protocol activated immediately. Medical transports. Engineering ships. Food carriers. 1 light escort cruiser. Estimated arrival. 13 hours. The request disappeared into the Accord's bureaucracy. Everything was proceeding exactly as regulations demanded. Exactly. 43 minutes later. Another alert flashed across the station. Human Defense Fleet. Dreadnought HFS Vanguard. Emergency jump authorization requested. Destination. Erebus 17. Kalen blinked. The Vanguard? That couldn't be right. Everyone in the Orion Accord knew about human dreadnoughts. Most governments considered them unnecessary. The vessels were enormous, mobile fortresses carrying enough firepower to challenge entire fleets. Officially, humanity claimed they existed only to respond to unknown existential threats. Most species quietly assumed humans were simply paranoid. Station Control denied the request. Reason **. Unauthorized military deployment. Human Command responded 32 seconds later. Request denied. Acknowledged. The Vanguard jumped anyway. Kalen received new orders before he had finished reading the report. You will board the human vessel immediately. Observe all operations. Record any violations of Accord protocol. Wonderful. He wasn't joining a rescue mission. He was babysitting humans. The shuttle docked with the HFS Vanguard 2 hours later. The ship dwarfed everything around it. Its armor looked less like polished metal and more like the side of a mountain. Massive rail cannons lined its hull. Dozens of missile bays remained sealed beneath reinforced plating. Nothing about the vessel suggested peace. Yet inside, the corridors were strangely calm. Crew members moved with practiced confidence. Nobody shouted. Nobody panicked. Everyone simply worked. A broad-shouldered engineer carrying a steaming mug noticed Kalen entering. "You must be the observer." Kalen nodded. "Lieutenant Kalen." The human smiled. "I'm Marcus Hale." He lifted the mug. "Coffee?" "I don't know what that is." Marcus looked genuinely disappointed. "We'll fix that later." The bridge surprised Kalen even more. He expected aggression. Instead he found discipline. Every station operated in near silence. Captain Elena Ward stood before the tactical display. She hadn't noticed him. Or perhaps she simply didn't care. The strange audio fragment echoed through the bridge once more. That haunting melody. Again. 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 She had listened to it dozens of times. "Still nothing?" she asked. "No database match," replied the science officer. "I'm not looking for a match." Captain Ward zoomed into the waveform. "I'm looking for intent." Kalen frowned. "Intent?" She finally turned toward him. "Everything intelligent leaves patterns." She pointed toward the distorted signal. "This isn't random. It feels." She searched for the right word. "Curious." Marcus stepped forward. "I've been thinking the same thing." Ward nodded. "Say it." Marcus looked uncomfortable. "I think whatever made that sound wasn't trying to scare anyone." The bridge waited. "I think it was searching." Kalen stared. "Searching? With music?" Captain Ward folded her arms. "And if it found something?" Marcus answered quietly. "Then everyone on that colony is already in trouble." Silence settled across the bridge. Ward turned back to the tactical display. "Prepare reconnaissance drones. Marine teams on standby. We're not assuming survivors." Kalen couldn't stay silent. "Captain." She looked at him. "The official relief convoy will arrive in approximately 13 hours. "I know. Then why violate protocol?" Ward met his eyes without anger. "Because 13 hours is enough time for an unknown predator to finish eating." No one on the bridge reacted. As though statements like that were normal. Kalen slowly opened his datapad. He began typing. "Observer log, entry 1. Human command reached a tactical conclusion before arriving on scene. Their captain appears convinced the distress signal itself contains behavioral information about an unknown intelligence, I do not understand how she reached this conclusion. The certainty with which she acts is unsettling." 3 hours later. The stars twisted. Space folded. The HFS Vanguard emerged above Erebus 17. From orbit. Everything looked peaceful. City lights glowed. Power grids functioned. Atmospheric readings were normal. No fires. No bombardment. No visible destruction. Almost beautiful. Then the first sensor report appeared. The science officer's voice became very quiet. "Captain." Ward didn't look away from the display. "Report. Life sign distribution is wrong." Every officer stopped moving. "What do you mean?" "There are biological signatures." He swallowed. "Inside the colony structures." Kalen stared at the screen. "Impossible." The buildings themselves were registering as alive. Then every monitor aboard the bridge flickered. A final emergency transmission forced itself through the interference. One exhausted voice. Barely audible. 3 words. "Don't land. Run, ****. The transmission died. Captain Ward's expression never changed. Battle stations. Red warning lights flooded the bridge. Kalen felt his pulse racing. The human captain watched the silent world below. Then she gave one final order. "We're going down." The dropship pierced the clouds of Erebus 17 without resistance. No anti-air defenses. No emergency beacons. No rescue flares. Only silence. Lieutenant Kalen stood near the rear hatch, gripping the safety rail tighter than he wanted to admit. Across from him, 12 human Marines sat perfectly still, their armored helmets resting on their knees. No one spoke. Captain Elena Ward stood beside the cockpit, studying a holographic map projected above her wrist. The colony appeared untouched. Every streetlight was powered. Every atmospheric processor was online. Even the weather control towers continued to function. It looked normal. And that frightened everyone aboard the shuttle. The landing gear touched the ground with a dull metallic thud. The rear ramp lowered. Cold air drifted inside. It smelled of rain, fresh soil, and blooming flowers. Nothing smelled dead. Sergeant Mason Cross stepped onto the surface first. His rifle remained lowered, but ready. Clear. The Marines exited in 2 silent columns, spreading through the landing zone with practiced precision. Kalen followed carefully. He expected chaos. Instead, he found perfection. The streets were clean. Vehicles remained parked exactly where their owners had left them. A child's toy rested beside a fountain. Steam still rose from a cafe window. Someone had abandoned a cup of tea before it had grown cold. Captain Ward crouched beside it. Still warm. Kalen frowned. "That's impossible." She nodded. "Exactly." The team advanced toward the colony square. Every home stood open. Beds remained unmade. Dinner tables were fully prepared. Music played softly from one apartment. No bodies. No blood. No signs of violence. Only absence. The silence became heavier with every step. Private Liam Brooks stopped beside a grocery store. "Captain." Ward approached. Brooks pointed toward the checkout counter. Fresh fruit. Fresh bread. A payment terminal still displayed. Transaction approved. Time stamp. 22 minutes ago. Kalen stared. Someone was here. Ward quietly corrected him. Someone disappeared here. The science drone floated overhead, scanning every structure. Its sensors suddenly emitted a sharp warning tone. "Captain." The drone operator's voice trembled. "I'm detecting organic matter." "Where?" "Inside the buildings." Kalen looked up. "What?" "The walls." Every Marine slowly turned toward the nearest house. Ward stepped forward. She placed one gloved hand against the white exterior wall. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then, she leaned closer. "There." Kalen squinted. At first he saw nothing. Then sunlight shifted across the surface. A shape appeared. A hand. Pressed into the wall from the inside. Perfectly preserved. 5 fingers. Every detail visible. As though someone had sunk into liquid stone. Before the wall hardened forever. Kalen's heartbeat quickened. "Captain." Ward moved sideways. Another imprint. A face. Another. A shoulder. Then another. The entire building contained dozens of faint silhouettes. Human. Alien. Children. Adults. Frozen forever beneath the surface. No blood. No bones. Only impressions. Private Brooks whispered one sentence. "They're inside the walls." No one corrected him. Because everyone knew. He was right. Kalen felt his stomach tighten. His training searched desperately for a logical explanation. Mineral reactions. Optical illusion. Architectural damage. Anything. Anything except what stood before him. Ward activated her helmet recorder. No one touches the structures. She looked toward Sergeant Cross. Full environmental seals. Yes, Captain. Nobody walks within 1 meter of any wall. The Marines obeyed immediately. Not a single question. Kalen noticed something. None of them looked surprised. Concerned. Absolutely. But surprised? No. It was as though every human already believed the universe could contain horrors like this. The drone emitted another alert. Captain. What is it? I'm detecting survivors. Every head snapped toward the display. Location. Subterranean. Depth. 23 meters. Ward smiled for the first time since arriving. They're alive. She turned toward the Marines. Move. The underground entrance had been concealed beneath an agricultural warehouse. 6 reinforced cargo containers blocked the hatch. Whoever hid below had intended never to leave. Cross knocked twice. No response. 3 more knocks. Silence. Ward stepped closer. We're human military. Nothing. Then. A metallic click echoed beneath the floor. The hatch opened only a few centimeters. A pair of frightened golden eyes stared upward. They froze. The alien inside whispered one word. Humans. Ward slowly removed her helmet. We're here to help. The hatch opened completely. Inside. The air smelled strangely chemical. Hundreds of spray bottles lined the walls. Cloth strips soaked in dark green liquid covered every doorway. Kalen immediately recognized fertilizer compounds mixed with industrial solvents. What is all this? An elderly woman stepped forward. Her insect-like features were covered with exhaustion. I made it. You? She nodded. I'm Governor Celera. She held up one of the spray devices. It hates this. Ward accepted the container carefully. What is it? Celera looked toward the ceiling. Her voice almost broke. We called it the Hollow Echo. Kalen felt the room grow colder. It came without ships. It came without weapons. It came. She struggled to breathe. Through the ground. Captain Ward remained perfectly calm. When? 3 days ago. Population. 478. Survivors. Celera lowered her eyes. 391. Ward looked at Kalen. Then back toward the governor. I counted 87 imprints. Celera slowly nodded. You already knew. I estimated. Tears filled the governor's eyes. No one has ever counted us before. Ward answered softly. I always count. Before anyone could speak again. Every light inside the shelter flickered. Once. Twice. Then darkness. Emergency lamps activated. The room glowed deep red. A child screamed. Above them. Something moved. Not footsteps. Not claws. Something flowed through the ceiling like water trapped inside stone. Every spray bottle hanging from the walls began to vibrate. The chemical odor suddenly intensified. Celera's face turned pale. It found us. The Marines instantly formed a defensive perimeter. Weapons raised. Safety locks disengaged. Captain Ward looked upward without fear. Only calculation. Then. The sound returned. That impossible chorus. Not through speakers. Not over radios. It came from the walls themselves. A beautiful melody. Almost human. Almost alive. Almost. Wrong. Ward quietly activated her communicator. Vanguard. Bridge here. The hollow echo knows we're underground. A pause. Then the reply. Orders, Captain. Ward watched the ceiling ripple like liquid beneath solid stone. Her voice never changed. Prepare orbital fire support. Kalen stared at her. There are civilians here. Ward met his eyes. And I'm making sure they stay alive. Above them. The singing grew louder. Something immense had begun to gather beneath the colony. And for the first time, it knew humanity had arrived. The song changed. No longer distant. No longer searching. It knew they were there. Deep beneath Erebus 17, the shelter trembled as the haunting melody echoed through the reinforced walls. The strange harmony rose and fell like a living heartbeat, filling every corridor with a sound that no speaker could have produced. Children covered their ears. Several adults dropped to their knees. Lieutenant Kalen felt the vibration inside his chest rather than hearing it. It isn't sound. He whispered. Captain Elena Ward looked toward the ceiling. No. It's communication. The human Marines moved without hesitation. Sergeant Mason Cross divided the squad into defensive positions while 2 engineers reinforced the shelter entrance with portable barricades. No shouting. No panic. Only practiced precision. Governor Celera watched them in disbelief. You fought things like this before? Cross glanced at her. No. Then, why are you so calm? He gave a small smile. Because panic has never solved a problem. A science officer aboard the HFS Vanguard called through the communicator. Captain, we're receiving unusual readings beneath the colony. Ward answered immediately. Show me. A holographic map appeared above her wrist. Everyone stared. The underground tunnels looked like veins spreading beneath the settlement. But they weren't tunnels. They were moving. Entire sections of bedrock slowly shifted beneath the city. As if something unimaginably large was crawling through the planet itself. Kalen's feathers stood upright. Those aren't caves. Ward nodded. No. They're pathways. Without warning. One of the reinforced walls bulged inward. Not cracked. Not shattered. It stretched like soft fabric. A child's handprint slowly appeared on the metal surface. Then another. Then dozens. Tiny fingers pressed from the opposite side. The children hiding inside the shelter gasped. They're trying to get in. A Marine shook his head. No. He aimed his rifle. They're trying to understand the wall. The imprint disappeared. Another formed several meters away. Then another. The thing outside wasn't attacking. It was studying. Captain Ward watched every movement. It's mapping the structure. She turned toward her communicator. Bridge. Reading you. It's learning our shelter. The answer came seconds later. Captain. The science officer sounded uneasy. We've completed analysis of the original distress signal. And the audio wasn't random. Ward folded her arms. I know. It contains mathematical repetition. Silence. Someone, or something, was using harmonic frequencies to scan neural activity. Kalen stared. You mean? Ward finished the sentence. The signal wasn't asking for help. It was looking for minds. Governor Solara's face turned white. The first people who heard the broadcast. She stopped speaking. Ward looked at her. What happened? They started hearing voices. Whose voices? Their families. Her breathing became uneven. People who had been dead for years. The shelter fell silent. Celera continued. They said the voices sounded kind. They promised safety. They told everyone to come outside. She lowered her eyes. Most of them did. A heavy impact shook the bunker. Dust drifted from the ceiling. Another impact. Closer. Then another. The entire shelter vibrated. It's changing tactics, Cross muttered. Ward nodded. It learned we won't come to it. So now. It'll come to us. High above the colony. The HFS Vanguard completed another orbital scan. The tactical display froze. Every officer stared. The biological signatures beneath the city had multiplied. Not hundreds. Thousands. The science officer swallowed hard. Captain. We're detecting additional mass. Where? Every absorbed colonist. He hesitated. Is still biologically active. Silence filled the bridge. Ward closed her eyes for a brief moment. They're alive. Technically. Yes. But. They're being used. Back in the bunker. Private Liam Brooks suddenly froze. His breathing slowed. His rifle lowered. Cross immediately noticed. Liam. No response. The young Marine stared toward an empty hallway. His eyes filled with tears. My mother. Cross grabbed his shoulder. Liam. I can hear her. Ward crossed the room instantly. Brooks. He smiled weakly. She says she's waiting. Ward's voice became sharp. Look at me. He didn't. He took one step toward the hallway. Then another. The impossible singing grew louder. Ward removed a small emergency injector from her belt and pressed it against Brooks' neck. He collapsed immediately. Cross caught him before he hit the floor. The music stopped. Brooks opened his eyes. Confused. What happened? Ward helped him stand. It found a way into your memories. Kalen felt cold. It can read minds. Ward looked toward the ceiling. Worse. It learns what you'll trust. The lights failed again. Emergency power activated. This time. The red glow revealed something new. Thin white strands had appeared along every wall. Hair thin. Almost invisible. Slowly growing. Slowly spreading. The science drone drifted closer. Captain. It isn't part of the shelter. The strands moved. Toward the drone. Wrapping around its cameras. Its transmission distorted. Static filled every communicator. Then. Silence. The drone simply fell from the air. Dead. Cross looked at Ward. It's inside. She nodded once. Everyone back. The white strands suddenly surged across the ceiling like lightning. A section of reinforced steel bent outward. Then exploded inward. Dust and twisted metal filled the room. From the darkness beyond. Something emerged. Not a creature. Not exactly. A pale shape formed from thousands of moving threads. No eyes. No mouth. No recognizable anatomy. Only a shifting silhouette that constantly changed form. It paused. As if curious. As if trying to decide what humans were. Nobody fired. The Marines waited. Ward watched it with absolute focus. The thing tilted its featureless head. Then. It spoke. Not aloud. Inside every mind. We remember you now. Kalen fell to one knee, clutching his head. The voice wasn't heard. It was experienced. Ancient. Patient. Hungry. The pale figure took one slow step forward. Captain Ward drew her sidearm. She did not aim. She simply watched. Then she spoke one quiet sentence. So. It finally decided to introduce itself. The entity rippled. Its countless white strands spread across the shattered doorway like living roots. Behind it, hundreds more pale figures slowly emerged from the darkness beneath the colony. An army. Waiting. Watching. Learning. Captain Ward pressed the communicator on her wrist. Her voice remained calm. Vanguard. Captain. We've confirmed first contact. A pause. What are your orders? Ward never took her eyes off the approaching figures. Wake the Dreadnought. Far above the planet. The massive human warship powered up weapons that had never before been fired in real combat. Because Captain Elena Ward had reached a conclusion. This was no rescue mission anymore. This was the opening battle of a war. The first shot was never fired. Not because the humans hesitated. Because Captain Elena Ward was waiting. The pale creatures stood beyond the shattered bunker entrance, hundreds of shifting figures woven from white threads and shimmering mist. They did not charge. They simply watched. Studied. Learned. The eerie chorus filled every corridor beneath the colony. We remember you. We understand you. You will join us. Lieutenant Kalen pressed both hands against his ears. The voices ignored them. They spoke directly into his thoughts. Every painful memory. Every fear. Every regret. They searched through them with terrifying patience. Captain Ward remained perfectly still. Everyone, she said calmly. Don't answer it. Governor Celera looked confused. Answer, what? The conversation. Cross nodded immediately. It's trying to establish a connection. The governor blinked. You can refuse. Ward looked at the approaching entity. You'd be surprised what humans can ignore. Without warning. One of the creatures lunged. It moved faster than anything Kalen had ever seen. A pale ribbon shot across the corridor. Sergeant Cross fired. The thunder of the human rifle echoed through the bunker. The creature exploded into glowing fragments. But instead of dying, the fragments flowed back together. Reforming. Learning. It's adapting, shouted Brooks. Ward watched carefully. No. It already adapted. It wanted us to waste ammunition. Another creature attacked. This time. No one fired. Cross stepped sideways. The entity slammed into reinforced steel. Its body rippled violently. For one brief second. Its shape became unstable. Ward smiled. There. She pointed. It can't change direction instantly. Cross understood immediately. So it's committed once it attacks. Exactly. The Marines repositioned. Now they weren't fighting. They were studying. Every movement. Every weakness. Every mistake. The creatures had expected prey. Instead, they found hunters. High above Erebus, 17. The HFS Vanguard completed its final orbital scan. Science Officer Nora Chen stared at the display. Captain. We found the center. Ward's communicator activated. Show me. A massive hologram appeared. Deep beneath the eastern mountains. One enormous biological structure pulsed beneath the crust. Every smaller creature connected to it. Like branches connected to a single root. Kalen stared. It's one organism. Chen nodded. The things attacking you aren't individuals. They're extensions. Ward looked toward the ceiling. So we don't fight the branches. We remove the root. On the bridge of the Vanguard, alarms echoed across every station. Weapons Officer Daniel Ruiz turned toward the captain's empty chair. Orbital lance charging. 30%. 40. 50. The bridge lights dimmed as unimaginable amounts of power flowed into the Dreadnought's primary weapon. Outside, gigantic energy conduits glowed across the ship's armored hull. Even nearby stars seemed dim beside the growing light. Back in the bunker, the hollow echo stopped advancing. Every pale figure froze. Then, they all turned upward, as though sensing something in orbit. Captain Ward noticed immediately. It feels the ship. Kalen looked confused. Can it reach orbit? Ward answered honestly. We're about to find out. The colony shook violently. Buildings above them collapsed. Dust filled the bunker. The pale creatures withdrew into the walls. Not retreating. Climbing. Thousands of white strands surged upward through the colony. Toward space. Toward the HFS Vanguard. Captain. Science Officer Chen's voice became urgent. The organism is leaving the planet. What? It's launching biological structures through the atmosphere. Ruiz looked at the tactical display. Hull impact in 8 seconds. Outside, the sky split open. Massive white tendrils erupted from the surface of Erebus 17. Each stretched kilometers into the sky. They twisted together into enormous living cables racing toward orbit. Kalen watched through the bunker entrance in disbelief. It can reach space. Ward nodded once. It learned. The first tendril struck the Vanguard's outer armor. Not with force. With curiosity. Thousands of tiny threads spread across the Dreadnought's hull. Searching. Listening. Feeling every vibration. Every electrical pulse. Every heartbeat aboard the ship. Bridge alarms screamed. Hull contact. Life support sensors compromised. External cameras failing. Chen looked horrified. It's reading the ship. Ward pressed her communicator. Ruiz. Ready, Captain. Don't fire the orbital lance. Silence. Kalen stared. What? Ward's eyes remained fixed on the spreading organism. It wants us to. Cross frowned. You think it's baiting us? Ward nodded. It wants one enormous energy release. So it can study it. The bridge fell silent. Ruiz slowly cancelled the firing sequence. Orbital lance standing by. The white organism continued spreading. It believed it had one. Marcus Hale burst onto the bridge carrying a portable engineering console. I've got something. Chen looked over. What? Marcus grinned. It keeps reading electrical activity. So let's give it something to read. Ward immediately understood. The discharge grid. Marcus nodded. The emergency hull capacitors. Kalen looked between them. I don't understand. Marcus smiled. It expects information. We're giving it lightning. Every engineer aboard the Vanguard sprinted into motion. Power rerouted. Capacitors overloaded. Emergency grounding systems disconnected. The entire Dreadnought became one enormous electrical trap. Ruiz looked toward engineering. Ready? Marcus' voice echoed through the ship. Almost. Almost. Now. A blinding surge erupted across the Vanguard's armored hull. Not outward. Across it. Millions of volts raced through the outer plating. The white organism convulsed. Every tendril flashed brilliant blue. The haunting chorus transformed into something Kalen never imagined possible. Pain. The creature screamed. Not with sound. With thought. Every mind on the planet heard it. Impossible. The tendrils recoiled violently. Ward didn't hesitate. Ruiz. Fire. The orbital lance awakened. For one breathtaking instant. Night became day. A single pillar of white light descended from orbit. It pierced the atmosphere without slowing. Clouds evaporated. Mountains glowed. The beam struck the eastern range exactly where the organism's central mass lay hidden. The ground disappeared. A silent flash expanded across the valley. Then. Everything stopped. The song vanished. Completely. No whispers. No pressure. No voices. Only silence. Real silence. For the first time in days. Erebus, 17 was quiet. Kalen slowly lowered his hands. It's over. Captain Ward didn't answer. She watched the tactical display. 1 minute passed. Then another. No movement. No biological signals. No song. Science Officer Chen finally spoke. Captain. The colony is clear. The Marines relaxed for the first time since landing. Governor Celera collapsed into tears. Children began crying. Not from fear. From relief. Captain Ward remained standing. Looking toward the mountains. As if waiting for something. Kalen noticed. You don't think it's finished? Ward answered quietly. I've learned something. What? She looked toward the stars. Predators rarely hunt alone. Far beyond Erebus, 17. Deep inside the darkness between the stars. A faint white signal awakened. Another. Then another. Across unimaginable distances. Unknown minds answered. The war had not ended. Humanity had just announced its existence. The silence lasted exactly 42 seconds. Then the bridge of the HFS Vanguard erupted into activity. Captain. Full spectrum scan complete. No active biological signatures detected on Erebus, 17. Science Officer Nora Chen looked over the final sensor report twice before speaking again. The hollow echo is gone. Captain Elena Ward didn't celebrate. Run the scan again. 5 minutes later. The answer remained the same. Nothing. No hidden organisms. No underground movement. No strange harmonic frequencies. The colony was finally free. Only then did Ward allow herself a slow breath. Begin recovery operations. Dropships descended across Erebus, 17 throughout the day. Medical teams evacuated the injured. Engineers restored damaged infrastructure. Supply drones delivered food, medicine, and portable shelters. For the first time in nearly a week. The colony looked alive again. Children laughed. Families reunited. Lights remained on because people, not monsters, still lived beneath them. Governor Celera stood outside the emergency command center watching human engineers rebuild an entire power station. She turned toward Kalen. I spent 3 days believing no one was coming. Kalen smiled softly. So did I. Later that evening. The survivors gathered in the colony square. No speeches had been planned. No ceremony had been organized. People simply came. Humans. Citizens of the Orion Accord. Rescue workers. Children. Everyone stood together beneath the evening sky. Governor Celera stepped forward. She looked at Captain Ward. You counted us. Ward nodded. I did. You knew exactly how many were missing. I always count. Solara's voice trembled. Most governments count buildings. You counted lives. For the first time. Captain Ward smiled. They're the only numbers that matter. 3 weeks later. The High Council of the Orion Accord assembled on the capital world of Asterion Prime. Representatives from dozens of civilizations filled the enormous chamber. Lieutenant Kalen stood before them as the official observer of the Erebus 17 operation. He had rewritten his report 11 times. Each version felt incomplete. Because facts alone could not explain what had happened. The council chair addressed him. Lieutenant. In your professional opinion. Did Captain Elena Ward violate Accord protocol? Kalen looked down at his report. Then back at the council. Yes. Whispers spread across the chamber. The chair nodded. And were those violations justified? Kalen took a long breath. I believed protocol existed to save lives. He paused. Now I understand. Sometimes. Saving lives requires acting before protocol catches up. The chamber fell silent. Captain Ward was called next. She stood alone before the council. No lawyer. No political advisor. No prepared statement. The chair asked a single question. Captain. If placed in the same situation again, would you make the same decision? Ward answered without hesitation. Yes. You understand you may lose your command? Yes. You may face permanent sanctions? Yes. The chair leaned forward. Why? Ward's answer echoed across the chamber. Because 478 people trusted someone would come. My responsibility wasn't protecting my career. It was making sure they lived long enough to have one. No one spoke. There was nothing left to ask. The council deliberated for 6 hours. News of the hearing spread across the Orion Accord. Entire colonies waited for the verdict. Military commanders. Scientists. Rescue organizations. Every one of them wanted to know the same thing. Had humanity gone too far? Or not far enough? At sunset. The council returned. The chair stood. The human vessel HFS Vanguard is formally censured for unauthorized military deployment. The chamber remained silent. The censure will remain on record. Another pause. However. The entire hall looked up. The council unanimously recognizes that existing rescue protocols proved inadequate against previously unknown existential threats. Murmurs spread across the audience. The chair continued. Effective immediately. The Orion Accord establishes the Rapid Response Defense Initiative. Mixed humanitarian and military task forces would now respond together whenever unexplained colony disappearances occurred. Unknown threats would no longer be met with unarmed rescue ships alone. Human tactical doctrine would become required reading throughout the Accord. The Hollow Echo would receive the highest possible threat classification. And Captain Elena Ward's complete combat analysis would be distributed to every fleet in known space. Outside the council chamber. Kalen found Captain Ward standing quietly beneath a balcony overlooking Asterion Prime. You won, he said. Ward looked at the distant skyline. No. We learned. Kalen smiled. I've submitted a transfer request. She raised an eyebrow. To where? Your ship. Ward looked genuinely surprised. You're a diplomat. I know. You'll spend months in deep space. I know. You'll probably see worse things than Erebus 17. Kalen nodded. I know. Ward studied him for a long moment. Then she smiled. We could use another diplomat. 3 months later. The HFS Vanguard departed Esterion Prime. Its crew had grown. Scientists from 6 civilizations came aboard. Medical specialists volunteered for long-range deployments. Engineers from across the Accord requested assignments. Even former critics now admitted a simple truth. Hope alone could not stop monsters. Someone had to stand between civilization and the darkness. Humanity had chosen to be that shield. Far beyond explored space. Where no star charts reached. A faint pulse crossed the void. Another answered. Then another. Ancient minds awakened. Silent civilizations stirred. Across impossible distances. Something remembered the destruction of the hollow echo. Something noticed the species responsible. A thought spread through the darkness. The fire-bearers have returned. Watch them. They will come. On the bridge of the HFS Vanguard, Captain Elena Ward stood before the stars. The crew prepared for another patrol. Another unknown mission. Another world that might someday need help. She looked at the endless darkness ahead and spoke quietly. Set course. The engines ignited. The great Dreadnought disappeared into faster-than-light travel, carrying with it not only weapons and soldiers, but hope. Because in a galaxy filled with things that hunted the helpless, there would always be one ship willing to answer the call. No matter the cost.